to keep parents in the dark, to lie to parents, and to view parents as a problem is grossly irresponsible.
My daughter, the last 2 years, has been asked for her pronouns on the first day of school.
No one should be keeping secrets from parents. Parents are not the enemy.
Now on the topic of these pornographic books,
Don't
from
stop,
hip
I'll
to
ask
hip.
you to leave.
You want inclusivity. That's what the American flag has always represented. And if you don't believe that, you have the problem.
Freedom to take care of our kids, to teach them what we want them to learn.
Lose 500, 700 credentialed teachers, staff a year.
On page 1,
Security, will you please start removing people?
Welcome back to the Big Money Playbook, education in America. After parents saw what was truly happening in the classroom with their kids during the pandemic, they took to their local school board meetings advocating for transparency in education and urging schools to focus on what really matters, educating the next generation of Americans.
We've got another special guest with us today to address all these issues. Please welcome presidential candidate, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
Long time no see.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for stopping by today, Senator. Great to have you with us. We're going to start a little bit on the broad side here to drill down. What's the best way for parents to kind of take back their role in their kids' education? So many people want to do that. Some have done it by moving, leaving, homeschooling, a lot of different ways. But what do you think it is?
Well, as a kid who went to 4 different elementary schools by the 4th grade, raised in a single-parent household and mired in poverty, I got to say, when we give parents a choice, the kids have the best chance for success. I don't care whether it's a good public school, private school, charter school, virtual school, homeschool. As long as the parents have a cafeteria of options in front of them, kids have the best chance of success. So every parent must decide for themselves what's the best option. As long as we give it to them, Katie bar the door. We will have the most remarkable future in this nation.
Senator Scott, I want to ask you more about that school choice platform that you have, because I know you want to expand that, make that a nationwide option. But you've also talked about how you yourself are a product of public schools.
Yes.
And that you want to preserve the good public schools. You know, some people might look at that and say, you can't do both. You know, if you have school choice, you know, the advocates for public schools say you can't support school choice and public schools. What do you say to that?
Hogwash is a simple answer for it. Think about it this way. We want every child in every zip code to have quality education. If you have a good public education system, good school, that's awesome. Let's celebrate that. But for too many kids in too many neighborhoods, they don't have good options. Infusing choice is infusing competition. When competition comes into a monopoly, the prices go down, the quality goes up, and we can see that. Here in New York, you have Success Academy, a charter school system that is producing outstanding results. The average income for the students' households around $30,000, $40,000 a year in New York City, 90% single-parent households, 80% minority, and they are producing high-quality education for kids in the state. In South Carolina, we have the Meeting Street Academy that's doing exactly the same thing using a very similar model. So what we know is that the poorest kids in this country, they can learn as much as any other kid. God doesn't give brains out based on income. We all get one. It's making sure that we have the right environment for these kids to not only prosper, but prosper to their highest potential. So I can be an advocate for quality education. I just don't care how they get it, but that they do receive it.
Senator, we've talked to a lot of parents on this program who feel like they're having the ball hidden from them. And when they ask the question, when they dare to ask the question, what's really going on, they get a lot of pushback from the experts who say, you stay in your realm, let us do our job in ours. What do you say to those parents out there? Maybe as a president, you have limited scope in terms of what you can do. But what do you say to those parents to reclaim that authority that they, I think, rightly believe is theirs?
Well, one of the things I'd say within my Parents' Bill of Rights, as President of the United States, I would advocate for making sure that parents have access to the curriculum being taught in their schools, making sure that no decision with their minor kids is made by an adult that isn't their parent. This is what we call common sense in America, and we need more of it, not less of it. And so making sure that parents have access to all the information is a very important part of my Parents' Bill of Rights. If we empower parents, we protect kids.
Can I ask you about what you were talking about earlier, this free market dynamic when it comes to education? In my view, the Democrats really don't want to support that. They don't want it gaining a foothold in this country because as long as they're in control and kids are in the public school system, they will be under their control.
Yes.
And then they will indoctrinate the next generation. And we haven't had the opportunity to see what that indoctrination looks like, but these kids are going to grow up and those policies are going to become part of the fabric of this country.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that to your point, if you think about what's happening in today's education system, that's going to be reflected in the leadership of tomorrow.
Right.
Today, we're not educating kids, teaching them how to think. We are indoctrinating kids, teaching them what to think. We need to have more A, B, C, and no CRT if we want the best outcome for this nation, for our kids. And frankly, we need to get back to teaching civics and history. Only 14% of kids are on grade level historically. That is devastating. And frankly, think about COVID. This administration here and teachers unions, we need to break the backs of teacher unions who are standing in the doorhouse of schools, trapping poor kids into failing schools. Part of the devastation of COVID, the largest drop in test scores in the history of the country.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, the senator, you can tell he doesn't like sitting in a chair. He's already halfway out of the chair anyway.
I'm ready to get
We're going to bring him over. Come on over,
All
Senator.
right.
Come on over. Now, you can't go past this line. We've got some questions out here in the audience for you. Kayla, you've got a question for Senator Scott. Give me your question.
Hi, Senator.
Hey, Kayla.
So it's become abundantly clear that professors across the nation are attempting to push their political agendas on their students. I'm curious to know, how do you feel about this issue? What do you think can be done? And how do you think students should react?
Well, it's devastating. Once again, it goes back to that concept of indoctrination. And frankly, too many kids and too many colleges around the country are afraid that if they assert conservative values, that their grades may suffer as a result of that. I've spoken on college campuses around the country. Just last year before last, I spoke at Harvard. I had 400 kids there. Tons of them were liberal. And the conservatives, we had a huddle on the side before it ever started. And they said, we're kind of concerned about our grades and being hit on, negatively because of our conservative views. So they kind of take a step back. I think there's something called the First Amendment in America, and one of the things that we have to focus on is making sure that we give people the insulation, the protection, and the courage to stand up and be seen. I understand the pain and the fear of standing out. When you're a black Republican, you are standing out for sure, right? And so taking that stand forward is helpful to your friends who may think like you, but not have that courage. So take the stand and create a coalition around you.
Senator, by the way, these are some of our Fox College associates. That's who you're getting questions from.
I saw them walking in.
Kate's got a doozy for you. She wants to talk about AI in education. Kate,
Okay.
what's your question?
Yes, hi, I'm Kate.
Hey, Kate.
Does the rise of AI in education raise concerns about potentially making students less independent and reliant on their own capabilities to think on their own, and possibly lead to a dumber down effect in the long run?
Yeah, ChatGPT and all the other things that come on, the next iterations of that certainly seems to suggest that there's going to be a way forward where you don't have to study and learn. You can just go online and put it in there, say, tell me how Tim Scott's going to win. And ChatGPT will give you the answer.
Using it.
Yeah. I still don't understand what it's saying. So, yes, I know how to make it happen. But the truth of the matter is, absolutely, the artificial intelligence, there is an ad created using my voice and my likeness, but it wasn't me. So there's a lot of things that are happening right now that we have to pay close attention to. And think about artificial intelligence, quantum computing coming together. It's going to be a force in education, one that we need to make sure that we're preparing for. And I think the best way to prepare for that is to continue to work on making sure that students today learn how to think. Critical in education and in life is to be a lifelong learner. Any cheat code you create will haunt you later. One of the most important lessons I've learned is you can pay me now or you can pay me later. But if you pay me later, the price is greater.
Sounds like a good one to take for the college students here. Hey, we got one more question for you. Howard's got a question for you on that education gap we've been talking about.
Hi, Senator.
How are you?
So my question is about, how do you feel about the educational gap between low-income students and high-income students? Low-income students tend to have to work twice as hard, And how do you think we can close that educational gap to ensure that each student has access to the same opportunities?
Well, thank you. Once again, I started off 8 years ago, I started the School Choice Caucus in Congress. I started that because I looked back on my education experience as a kid. One of the things I understand as a kid growing up in poverty, you look at the lowest performing education systems, they're typically filled with kids that come from single parent households in poverty. One of the ways that we level that playing field is to make sure that every parent has the resources to make the right decision for their educational path for their kid. That's why school choice is so important. Now, one of the ways that we can accomplish that as President of the United States, there are two major buckets of resources that go to the states. I would make those resources backpackable. In other words, wherever the kid goes, the money will follow. I like to move, as you can tell. So literally think about it this way. Title I money is for kids that are going to poor schools, $24, $30 billion, somewhere in that range. If you put those resources in the backpack for the child, and wherever that child goes, you let those federal dollars follow, you actually end up with higher quality school choice in every state in the nation. And Title II dollars for those kids with special needs. It is really hard to have the right IEP, education plan, for that individual. But if we gave the parents the resources and allowed them to choose a school, like in South Carolina, we have a school called Hidden Treasures that focuses on making sure that every child maximizes their potential. Let's do that nationwide.
The senator's on the move. We got to move him along. How about a big thank you to Senator Tim Scott? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.